Welcome everybody to the May 13th regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning. And can we all stand for a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
Mary Scott, absent. Virginia Higley,
Here.
Frank Alimo,
Here,
John Petronella,
Here.
Vinnie Grillo,
Here.
and Richard Suzak is here.
Okay, I'd like to sit Commissioner Vinnie Grillo for the remainder of the meeting for the absent Commissioner Mary Scott. And can we get an approval of minutes for April 22nd, regular
So
meeting?
moved. Second.
Motion's made by Commissioner DeGray, seconded by Commissioner Higley. Any questions, comments, concerns, or corrections?
No.
Nobody? Okay. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. Town attorney's report we received in writing. Any questions from the commissioners?
No.
Nope, seeing none. Okay. Public participation. Is there anybody out there who would like to speak to the commission tonight about anything that is not on our agenda? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Anyone? Okay, seeing none. I see we have a bond release tonight, PH 2904, 130 Elm Street.
Yep, we do have the bond release. I believe Rick put a report in your packets. It was associated with the Panera project, which is now complete.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we allow the bond release for public hearing 2904, the release of the landscape bond in the amount of $11,130 as recommended by our Rick Rochelle of our, planning department.
Okay, our CEO.
Yeah, our CZEO.
Okay, motion's made. Is there a second?
second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. And moving on, continued public hearings. I see none on the agenda. So we'll move on to new public hearings. Public hearing 3001. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
Virginia Higley,
Here.
Frank Alimo,
Here,
John Petronella,
Here.
Vinnie Grillo,
Here.
and Richard Suzak is here. And Mr. Chair, I'll read the public notice in case we just didn't do it last week or last meeting.
Great.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, May 13th at 7 p.m. online regarding public hearing 3001 40 Edgewood Drive, special permit and site plan review application to allow the expansion of a non-conforming structure to accommodate a breezeway and garage addition. Rachel Boulay and Daniel Cesar, owners, applicants at 53 lot 519 R40 R33 zone. That's it.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Dan Cesis, 40 Edgewood Drive, Enfield, Connecticut.
Welcome, Dan. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
We'd like to build a 2-car garage and mudroom onto our house. And we want to build it flush with the front of the house. But since it's a non-conforming lot, we had to apply for the special permit.
Okay, Lori, I assume this was a change in the zoning laws that created this non-conforming use?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions before I open it to the public? Seeing none, is there anybody out there who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 3001 for the addition of a garage to 40 Edgewood Drive? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Going for the first time? Going for the second time? Going for the third time? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to vote.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for, public hearing 3001, as prepared by the planning department with the 14 conditions, and the planning department review was done on April 22nd, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, you're all set. I apologize you had to come. We're working on the regulations right now to prevent this from happening, but things move slow in government. So good luck with your garage, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Thanks. You too.
Moving on, public hearing 3003, 612 Hazard Avenue.
Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
Virginia Higley,
Here.
Frank Alamo,
Here.
John Petronella,
Here.
Vinnie Grillo,
Here.
and Richard Suzak is here. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, May 13th, 2021, online regarding public hearing 3003, 612 Hazard Avenue, zone change application from residential 44 to special development district, Nettle Manor LLC owner applicant, map 110, lot 343, R44 zone.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, my name is Peter Alter, A-L-T-E-R. I'm an attorney practicing law in Glastonbury at the firm of Alter and Pearson. Here to represent the applicant, owner of the property, along with Dana Steele, who is our project engineer of J.R. Russo, and also present this evening is Mr. Zalman Glick, who is the owner's representative. And Ms. Witten, that's the 917 telephone number that you referred to earlier. I believe that's Mr. Glick.
Okay, tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
The application before you tonight is made pursuant to your regulation section 5.60. The property, which consists of 8.37 acres at 612 Hazard Avenue, was the former Blair Manor nursing home, which has been, as I'm sure commissioners recognize, closed and vacant for several years now. Our proposal is pursuant to the regulation to create a special development district to allow the conversion of the nursing home to a multifamily development consisting of 43 units. In accordance with your special development district requirements, you have a list of a number of requirements, A through H, within your regulation. I thought that your town planning staff did an excellent job of reciting each of those items and how this particular application complies with that regulation. There is no question that each of those items are complied with respect to this proposal, and therefore meets the standards set out in your regulation. The multifamily use that we propose would be permitted by way of a special development district. It's an excellent repurposing and redevelopment of a building that, if left much longer, will begin to deteriorate. Our proposal contemplates no expansion of that building, but the reuse of it through changes in architecture, et cetera. If Commission sees fit to approve our application this evening, we will be back in accordance with your regulation to review the details of that development through a site plan approval process. As the Commission is aware, we do have to meet certain standards to qualify for a zone change. One of those is with reference to your plan of conservation and development. I did have the opportunity to review that and found a number of references in your plan of conservation and development to the need for developing opportunities for multifamily housing and the use of the special development district as a mechanism by which such housing could be created. And specifically, your plan calls out that this particular development district is one of the only methods that existed back when the plan of conservation development was created to allow multifamily development as we propose. Our density proposal is consistent with the area surrounding us. We have 8.37 acres. We propose 43 units, which would be a density just slightly over 5 units per acre. The uses that surround us lend themselves to this kind of development. We have the Scantic River, both on the south and the east of our property. Although it's zoned R44, these are state-owned properties and will continue to be state-owned properties for the foreseeable future. On the west, Hazardville Water Company owns that property. Very unlikely that any development will occur there. And then north across Hazard Avenue, of course, is a residential subdivision. The other point that I think is worth making is that we did go to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency at a meeting. At their last meeting, they approved our request to make a finding that there was no activity that required a wetlands permit for the redevelopment of this site. The only increase on the site will be within the parking so that we can comply with your parking requirement of 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. So in all respects, we believe that we meet each and every requirement for approval of special design district as provided in 5.60 of your regulation. We're prepared to answer any questions. Dana Steele is here and can answer any more technical questions. Mr. Glick is also available if necessary, but we would submit that this is exactly the type of rehabilitation and adaptive reuse of a vacant or a deteriorated or underutilized building as is contemplated by this particular regulation. Happy to answer any questions.
Because I have a question in terms of,
Go ahead, Rich.
do we know how many developable acres are in that 8.37 acres? And so that we can sort of, base it, because I know that, what happens is that, we looking at the family housing developments, normally it's based on developable acres and not necessarily how many acres are, the lot size is. And I was just wondering what the developable acres are.
I would ask Dana to make the more technical response. We did provide a proposed site plan as part and an actual A2 survey as part of our submission, which identifies the relationship to the Scantic River, identifies wetlands and the upland review area that exists. There actually are very little wetlands on the site. They follow very closely the Scantic River for the most part. Dana, I don't know if you want to add something.
Sure. For the record, Dana Steele, engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates. Of the 8.37 acres, I would estimate about 5 or 6 of that is developable. The portions that are not developable, obviously the wetlands associated with the Scantic River, as well as some of the steep slopes around the perimeter of the property. So I haven't done an actual calculation to give you an exact number. Would say too, the frontage for the parcel is only 600 feet. So if you're wondering about lot yield, if that's what you're getting at, for a development like this, with the frontage requirements, I believe it's 150 feet per lot. So that would be four lots. You might be able to, you can't do rear lots except in an open space subdivision, which I guess is possible. We haven't done a detailed analysis of what could be done with a subdivision. The main challenge being that the site's already developed, it's already improved with this building, and the cost of removing it is extensive.
And again, I just want to make sure that, once we go forward, that, any proposal that is brought before us sort of conforms with our regulations, so that, depending on exactly what could be done and how dense the development could be, you can add or subtract 1 or 2 or 3 units, whatever might have to occur. But, in the overall scheme of things, you still have to meet our regulations going forward with the, regulations for those particular, definition of improvements is going to be.
Sure. It's my understanding, and maybe staff could confirm this, but it's my understanding that the SDD regulation doesn't have density limits requirements. It's really up to the commission. The regulation, you look at what the surrounding densities are, and you make a determination as a commission whether you think that it's appropriate for the area. And one of the things that we mentioned in our submission was there's another apartment complex sort of across the street diagonally to the west, and it's a similar, actually a little higher density than what we're proposing. So we think that we're in the right the right ratios for the neighborhood. Obviously, there's single family homes as well in the area, but this area has already been developed with something much denser than single family, and so it's a matter with adaptive reuse. How can we work with what's already there in a logical, reasonable way? So,
just to further Dana's statement under 5.60.3A, Romanet 3, the maximum overall density of dwelling units in the proposed development shall be determined by the commission.
Yeah.
As appropriate for the general vicinity of the proposed SDD. So we have what we think is a reasonable proposal based on, as Dana said, the existing building. We're dealing with a footprint that is existing.
I guess all I'm saying is that, when we actually hear the application for you know, the proposed development, we probably should have that information so that we know exactly what we're comparing and how we're comparing, you know, what your proposal is.
We can certainly
That's
do that.
possible.
Well, our proposal is 43 units, so that's the density that we're proposing. What additional information are you looking for?
Well, again, you know, I haven't, you know, it's just a comparison of, you know, of what you have and what is there. And so 43 units, and we're saying that we have like 5 developable acres or 6 developable acres, or if it's 5, it's 43 divided by 5, which is about 8 units per acre. So, and again, you know, that that falls in line with what we're looking to achieve, but you know, everything is sort of proportional to what that developable acre area is.
We
So
can certainly provide you with exact information in that regard.
and that's all we're looking for. It would just confirm that we are, you know, going down the correct path.
All set, Rich?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I have a question. You're saying it falls in line with the plan of conservation and development, but the plan calls for mixed use for this property. And as I'm sure you're aware, the old school down the street, we required mixed use. We required businesses in the lower level and the apartments upstairs for that to pass so we could maintain the plan of conservation. This is not doing that.
As we point out in our materials, one of the problems that we have with that is that this is a single-story former nursing home building, so that it would be extremely difficult to create a mixed-use environment in such a situation. The other aspect of that, of course, is that this property really stands alone, surrounded by open space on 3 sides, and doesn't, at least in our opinion, lend itself to creating a commercial use there. That it would much better serve as a residential use and provide some rental housing that can be created within the existing structure of the nursing home.
Okay. And as far as the land around the property, Dana, aren't there escarpments and everything going down to the river,
Yes.
which
Yeah,
would
there
make it undevelopable?
Yeah, that's, well, I mean, your regulations talk about, I think for the definition, developable acres excludes slopes in excess of 15%. So those terrace escarpment soils tend to be in those steeper slope areas anyway. So my estimation, as I said, 5 to 6 acres was taking that into account.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioners, Commissioner Alimo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe a question for staff. I like this repurposing of this building. And I know we're here tonight for the zoning issue, just the zoning. So if it's approved, can the applicant just put any type of multi-use relative to amenities and style? If we approve this tonight, are we locked ourselves into anything? Because I'm more interested in what we're going to have there as a finished product. What type of apartments, amenities, lifestyle, those sorts of things that the potential residents or tenants will have. So if I'm incorrect, please advise me, Lori.
There is a site plan application on file as well. The commission had asked that the site plan application be reviewed separately or at a separate meeting from the zone change.
Right, and I have the drawings right here, and I didn't open them because they're not appropriate for tonight, from what I understand. I did not even look at these yet.
Right, so the site plan review will happen or will be scheduled once the commission makes the decision.
So we have jurisdiction and leeway to take a good look at what's going to be developed relative to the building and the apartments themselves.
Yes, under the site plan review. Yep.
And I did take a ride. I did look at the property, and I think this would be a good thing for it if we can do it, and it fits our needs. So I'm for this piece and looking forward to the next piece. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Alamo. Any other commissioners? Ginny, nothing?
Sorry, I was muted. I am confused about something. I understand in the past we've talked about spot zoning, and this is not spot zoning, so I'm not questioning that. But 5.60.1 criteria, item G, it says the proposed exhibits compatibility with zoning districts adjacent to the site. So that's these are all the A through H are criteria for the proposal meeting all of the following criteria. And I don't know, I'm not saying it's since it's not an overlay district, I can't justify in my mind how it's compatible with R44 and R33. So maybe somebody can explain that to me.
If I could start, and then perhaps Dana has something to add, and staff may also have some to add. Although you're absolutely correct that the zones around us are R44 on 3 sides, even though you have it zoned R44. The state of Connecticut owns the areas of the Scantic River, and the water company owns the 3rd side. There is R44 development across the road, but I think the way I read item G, that it exhibits compatibility with the zoning districts, in my mind, that means that a residential use, since we have residential zone around it, would be more compatible than, for example, if we were proposing substantial commercial project here. That to me would be incompatible. So that in my reading of item G, it doesn't mean that we are to develop at the same rate or in the same manner as an R44 zone, but rather that it would be compatible, and certainly in our minds, creating a residential multifamily development here in place of a nursing home is compatible with residential zones around it. And as Dana said, there is an apartment complex that is not adjacent, but relatively close. So we find this proposal, at least in our minds, to be compatible with a residential use as opposed to commercial use. Dana, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I would just add the apartment complex is parcel is parcel 14 on the zone change map. So that's sheet 2 of the plan set, which is part of this application is the zone change map. That parcel 14 is, if you look at that map, you'll see that there's an access strip that actually is basically across the street from the northwest corner of our property, but the entrance drive to the apartments is further to the west. So I think that's why we mentioned it's a little bit of ways. It has more of the appearance of being a little bit of ways, but it's really almost across the street, though it's not fronting on Hazard Avenue. It's a rear lot set back behind it. But yeah, I would agree with Attorney Alter that that when you're talking about compatibility, you can't really get more compatible than residential with residential. I mean, it's not a question of is this commercial use compatible with this residential use? They're both residential, so I think that it's you know, the only issue is, I guess, density, and if you look at it from the perspective of traffic, when you compare that, we submitted a traffic report with this as well, and if you look at the traffic report, it's going to be essentially the same amount of traffic that there was for the nursing home as it will be for the apartments. It was an increase, very small increase of three trips in the peak hour. So not really a significant change. Commercial site might have a more significant change. A mixed use site might have a more significant change, but I think this is very much in keeping with what's already there. I think what we're proposing is not going to have a significant difference. Is not going to be any more commercial or any more intensive than what's been there historically.
I kind of don't agree with you on that one, Dana. That was a nursing home before, and you had staff coming and going, but the residents were pretty much there full time. You want to put 44 units in, figure 2 people per unit. That's 88 people coming and going to work every day. So there's 88 cars in and 88 cars back out. I mean, that's a lot more than what that nursing home was doing.
Not according to our traffic engineer, which is implementing the standard ITE traffic manual for these uses, and they find that these nursing homes do generate a fair amount of traffic. So we looked at that, and we've submitted, I think, a data to support our position that it's not going to have a significant increase in traffic. I certainly understand why you might think that for the reasons that you just stated, but I think that when you consider all the services that come into those types of facilities, the number of employees that work there, the 24-hour shifts that involved in maintaining those facilities, it's not as different as you might think it would be. According to the ITE traffic manual, and I think they have good data. This isn't one of those uses that there isn't a lot of data to support it. They've been around a long time, nursing homes, and so I think they have a pretty good scientific methodology there for determining their trip generation.
Okay, Lori, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. I was, Jen prepared this memo for the commission, and she answers the questions how this meets the STD requirements quite well. And then I wanted to point out that as part of the STD regulation under 5.60.3, it talks about if residential uses are proposed, for all or part of the STD. It goes on to different sections, but wait, I was thinking, if the residential uses are proposed in a mixed-use development, the commission may approve shared parking. So it says if the residential uses are proposed in a mixed use. It doesn't say that they have to be. It actually gives the option.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner DeGray.
I really like the idea of reading, because I was over there this afternoon, looked at the property. And and I know the applicant is only looking at their specific use and wanting to rezone this, but I would really personally like to see that mixed use happen there. And that's just a personal thing. But I like to think about this as, all right, we saw the nursing home be there for X number of years. It went away. This apartment complex comes, it gets rezoned, if we pass it and it gets rezoned there for X number of years, the rezoning will affect that property for more than just 20 years. So that, you know, I'd like to see something. I'm okay with this, but I'm not okay with this. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Commissioners, anyone else? Commissioner Petronella? Grillo?
Yeah, excuse me, I unmute myself. I like the application and the use, and I've been looking at or trying to figure out, trying to do a mixed use on this type of property, on this facility. I'm not sure what would make any sense with it. And talking about traffic and trips, I think by doing that, you would certainly be increasing more traffic to it if you were going to induce more commercial use to it. So, you know, again, I feel it's a good use for an abandoned property. I can't think of any other better use that would become of it other than another nursing home. So, and that would be, you know, a stretch. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before I open it up to the public? Okay, seeing none. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 3003? If so, speak up, state your name and address for the record, please. Going for the first time. Anyone? Going for the second time. It's funny, last meeting we had someone. Going for the third time. Anyone? Just state your name and address for the record, please. Okay, seeing none. How does the commission?
Kenny, I think David is trying to get in. People there.
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was muted.
Okay, would you like to speak?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, David. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is David Arce, ARCE. I live in 144 Wainola Avenue, New Britain, Connecticut. I'm pastor in Enfield, and we are asking for a special permit.
Sir, we'll get to you're on the agenda, but you're down the road a ways. This is for this public hearing right here.
Okay.
It has to do with the apartments or the
I'm really
zone
sorry.
change. Yep.
I heard that they called my name. That's why I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. We'll be with you shortly. Sorry about that. Okay, is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 3003? If so, state your name and address for the record. Going for the first time? Second time? And the third time? How would the commission like to proceed? Commissioner Suzak, would you like to wait for the information that you've requested or asked about?
Yes, yeah, because it's going to be site specific to their application in terms of, you know, basically, you know, I just don't want to lose sight that we do have regulations that sort of define how to develop this kind of land and what kind of densities are allowed. And as long as, you know, they conform to those regulations, then obviously we're all set. But, you know, without having that information, it's difficult for us to make an assessment as to what they're trying to do.
Understood. I agree with Commissioner Suzak, and I'm willing to wait for the paperwork that he's requesting. Commissioners, how do you feel?
So do we close this public hearing, or do we have
No.
2 hearings?
No, we don't close the public hearing. Public hearing stays open. We'll make a motion to continue the public hearing.
Okay, so the next time we meet with this applicant is still going to be relative to the zone change.
Yes.
Okay.
Lori, is that correct in terms of, I think that this application is just for the zone change. The next application would be for their specific use.
Right.
Right, so why
We would close this public hearing then.
No, you
But
would,
why would you change a zone if it doesn't meet what you're talking about for the
Well, the thing is,
developable area?
okay, the question was, I'm not sure what the question was. So if you wanted more information for the rezone, you just, you table this to the next meeting. The applicant has an opportunity to give you some more detailed information on densities or whatever else you're looking for. And you had requested that we not hear the site plan until the special development district is approved. So you would just table this hearing and we wouldn't put the site plan on until this was decided on. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I be heard for a moment on behalf of the applicant? The way your ordinance is written, it implies that there's a two-step process, the zone change and the site plan, one follows the other. It's not clear to me what the commissioner, in terms of information that can be provided in the context of a zone change. It would be provided in the context of a site plan application, so that you would see, for example, the unit layout, you would see the density, you would see the architectural improvements, the changes to the parking lot, the changes to storm drainage, the landscaping. All of those things are part of the site plan approval. I'm not resisting providing that information. We would have been happy to provide it tonight if the site plan were to follow the zone change consideration. So I would ask, Mr. Chairman, if you're going to leave this public hearing open, that you provide us with some real specific guidance as to what information you would need with respect to the zone change. I understand all of the information we would provide in accordance with the site plan requirements of Section 9 of your regulation, and we've submitted plans in that regard. I think I want to be very careful as to the information that would be presented with respect to a zone change.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that in terms of, I think that, basically our regulations define what you could do in that zone change, and then they need to conform to that zone change. We're not going to change our regulations to meet their I guess, it's zone change. They have to conform their application to what we define as, multifamily housing in our regulations. And if that's what you're suggesting, we're going to redefine this space to be, then they would meet those regulations associated with multifamily housing.
Well, with all due respect, the regulation 5.60.1 spells out the exact criteria by which you would judge the zone change, A through H. The rest of what you would judge is part of your site plan deliberation. For example, let's say that you don't like the color of the building. That would be a matter under site plan deliberations. But at least my understanding of the way a zone change application would work in a special development district zone, as you describe in Section 5.60, would be for you to apply the criteria that you spell out in your regulation. Now, if you think something here has not been fully vetted with you and you want more information as relates to A through H, we're happy to do that. We will provide that. And the way to do that would be to leave the public hearing open and tell us exactly what it is that you need to know. And Dana and I will make every effort to provide it. If it goes beyond that into site planning, then it should be part of the site plan application deliberations that would follow if you adopt the district. And you still have to approve the site plan, so that if you don't like ultimately the site plan and we don't get that approved, until we can bring a site plan to you that you will approve, the second part of the two-step process has not been satisfied. So you're not risking anything in regards to your oversight of what goes into this project.
His question was about developable land and what percentage of it is developable. And we don't have that, and you don't have that. You're making assumptions. You're surrounded by the Scannick River Park. There's escarpments, there's waterways, there's all kinds of stuff out there. And that weighs heavy on the density of the zone you're asking us to change it to. So it's not relevant to the building that's there. But once we approve this, the building's already existing. So how do you say, well, you can't have that high a density? Well, the building's already there. So the only way to do anything,
you could determine under the site plan, approval that you're only comfortable with 38 units. And you say 43 is too many because of the density, because turns out that Dana was wrong. We only have 3 acres to develop and we have a density over 11. But I mean, no disrespect, but what I'm trying to get to is that when I look at the criteria A through H, what you've mentioned, Mr. Chairman, doesn't fall within those parameters. And I'm not resisting providing the information. I think you're going to be very satisfied with it. And if you want to leave the public hearing open so that we can provide that, we will. But I'm not sure which of A through H it advances, I guess is my question.
are you changing the zone on any other property but your own?
No, sir.
Okay, so it's spot zoning. So
No.
we're specific to this one area. You can shake your head no.
It's not spot zoning.
How do you want to proceed?
I want to do what the commission wants, and I'm happy to provide the information that you want, as long as you can give us direction as to what that might be.
Okay. Rich, what do you want to do? Do you feel it's part of the application, or do you feel it's part of the zone change?
You know, I think it's part of the application. I agree with them in terms of if once they determine how many developable acres there are, that's going to dictate how many units they can have. And then all of a sudden, if they're proposing 43 units and they can only do 37, they have to go back and change their unit layout to agree with the developable acres and the density allowed. So, you know, we're not locked into 43 acres by approving this zone change. They're locked into what our regulations allow them to do with a specific use that they're going to propose for that zone change. That's the way I look at it, and which is, I think, exactly what Mr. Attorney Alter is saying is that, you know, right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to fit their building into this use group, and no, they have to fit you know, the use group into the zone change. I believe that's the way I read it. And Laurie, could you correct me if I'm wrong? Or
I kind of agree, but what I would suggest is, why don't we go through the criteria A through H and decide whether or not it meets the criteria for the zone change. If it does, then you move forward. If it doesn't, then maybe there's some questions that could be asked and answered.
Okay.
You know, Mr. Chairman, this you know, it's just a suggestion, just to kind of move things along. But I mean, the regulations are very clear that it must meet these certain criteria. And Jen has Jen responded quite well in her report on these.
Okay. Commissioner Limo, your hand's up.
Yes. So at our last meeting, when we were, I believe, in the section on the agenda for applications to come, we discussed this, and we asked, and we were all in agreement, we asked staff to please not bring both parts tonight. We asked them to specifically bring this zone change and then move forward to the site plan. And we were all in consensus of that because we didn't want to get into what we're getting into right now. And, you know, you have to go back and think about what we instructed staff to do. And you can look at the video or the minutes. We specifically asked for this process to be like this so we don't get into the weeds on what we're getting into now. So I think we should vote and up or down and move on, or close the public hearing. Mr. Chairman, I would refer to you, but that's my feeling on this.
Commissioner Petronella.
Yeah, I have a question for staff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for staff. With respect to the density, is that based upon the overall acreage of the parcel or just the developable acreage? I'm a little bit confused on that. I would assume that it would be the total acreage of the parcel.
I believe in other sections of the regulations, it varies. I know that when you're talking about like open space subdivisions, they want to make sure that you're basing density off of the developable acres or something, or if it's it's something about the percentage of open space based on, instead of the entire property, it's the developable acres. In this instance, though, in the regulations for special development district, the density really is determined on what the commission thinks is appropriate. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like Commissioner Suzak might have been drawing off of a different section of the regulations where a similar use might be proposed, like maybe multifamily housing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Could I add something to the discussion, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman?
Dana. Yep.
So I've gone into our drawing, our survey, and calculated the developable area. It's approximately 5 acres. So if that helps with, I would agree. I think the regulation we're looking at does not. The developable area is not one of the factors in determining how this will be developed. It's not limited in that way. It's a different scenario. But that being said, if it's information that you feel is important in your decision, we want to provide it. That's why I checked it. So the regulations specifically say that we need to provide you with the number of dwelling units per lot, rather than based on developable area, the number per lot. So if you look on the zone change map, we provided that. Every parcel that's within the neighborhood, we indicate the number of units per lot. So the apartment complex that's across the street is 40 units. All the residential single family, they're 1 unit. And our development is 43 units. So we think that, based on your regulations, we provided it that way. If we thought that it was based on developable area, then we would have provided that, but that's not the way we interpreted it. But I have checked it, with a reasonable accuracy. It's going to be about 5 acres, give or take, a couple of tenths of an acre maybe. So I think that should give you enough information to kind of understand what density we're talking about. So 43 divided by 5 is 8.6.
Thank you, Dana.
Sure.
Commissioners, any other questions before I open it up to the public again? Seeing none. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 3003? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Going for the first time. Going for the second time. Public hearing 3003 to convert 612 Hazard Avenue into a apartment complex. Seeing none, how does the commission want to proceed?
I move we close the public hearing.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Now you can't take any more information.
I understand that. That's what they
All
wanted.
right.
Yep. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve public hearing 3003-612 Hazard Avenue zone change application from residential R44 to special development district. Meadow Manor LLC owner applicant, map 110, lot 343, R44 zone.
motion's made. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner DeGray. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
I'm against because I don't believe it meets the plan of conservation and development.
Linda DeGray,
I'm against. I also don't believe it meets the plan of conservation.
Virginia Higley,
Ginny, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm against, not only because of the plan of conservation and development. Staff gave us information on all the letters under 5.60.1, but I still had issues with E, F, and G.
Frank Alamo,
I'm for. I think it would be a good use for that building and repurposing it. Anything better than what I went up there and looked at today.
John Petronella,
I'm for, and I echo Commissioner Alimov's comments.
Vinnie Grillo,
I'm for. I also agree with Commissioner Limo and Commissioner Petronelli. I think we could deal with the other parts next meeting. So I'm for.
and Richard Suzak. I am also for, because I think that what we need to do is sort of develop parcels that can be developed in a realm where we still have control over what's going on. And, with the, information provided, we could do a thorough review of what their application could be and make sure it conforms with our regulations.
Okay, that's 4 in favor, 3 against. I believe that does not pass, does it, Lori?
Does.
Yeah, it does pass.
Okay. All right,
All right,
congratulations.
yes, it does pass.
Thank you very much.
What's that, Lori?
I agree, it does pass.
Okay. Moving on. Public hearing 3004 9 North Main Street. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
Here.
Virginia Higley,
Here,
Frank Alamo,
Here.
John Petronella,
Here,
Vinnie Grillo,
Here.
and Richard Suzak is here. The Enfield.
Linda
Planning-
DeGray is here too.
Oh, Linda DeGray, sorry about that. You disappeared from my screen. The Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, May 13th, 2021 at 7 p.m. regarding public hearing 3004 9 North Main Street, special permit and site plan review application to allow a place of worship, a church, in one of the units of the building at 9 North Main Street. Dayal and Pritan Patel owners, David Baker applicant, map 24, lot 59, G5 zone.
Thank you. Is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record. Now is your chance, Dave.
David Arce. I live in 144 Waidola Avenue, New Britain, Connecticut, 06051. Sorry for the confusion before. I'm not used to the public hearings.
That's quite okay.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
We're asking for this special permit because we want to establish this worship center a place to support individual and group to perform acts of devotion, veneration, and religious studies. A place where children, young people, and adults can come together and worship together. We want to educate family values to all ages and promote love for each other. Also, I want you to know that our goal is to make a positive impact, not only in the community of Enfield, but also the neighboring towns and also states, if it is possible. I just want to add that this place was used before as a place of worship. It was called the Abiding Place for more than five years, and it has been vacant for a few years now. But it was used as a place of worship before. I just want to be clear, completely clear, that our plan is not to build or make any structural changes to this place. We just want to occupy the place as it is. Close to this place, there's only a small pest control company and a health center that usually there during the weekends and nights are closed. So I think that our presence there is going to make people really comfortable to use these areas. That's all I have to say right now.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions?
I do have one for the staff. And Lori, I'm hoping you can clarify this. I'm looking on our advertisement list, and you've got public hearing 3304, and it is public hearing 3004. Did the public notice go out as 3304 in the paper?
It was just an error, but we did fix it when we posted it. So I think that just the old version you put into your.
I just want to make sure that it's okay, because we've run into this in the past where it was misrepresented in the paper. That's all I'm asking. Okay, I'm fine. That was my big, I don't want to run into that issue again. Thank you.
Because it was on the website, we were able to fix it quickly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing 3004 9 North Main Street for a special permit and site plan review application to allow a place of worship. Is there anybody out there who would like to speak in favor or against this application? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Going for the first time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
hello,
how
are you, Chairman? My name is Pritham Patel. I am the owner of the Saatchi Corporation and also the 9 North Main Street. I live in 60 Singletary Lane in Framingham. I definitely welcome David and Elsa to start a worship place over there, and by the approval of the commissioner and everybody else. So we request them that please pass the special permit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lori, do you have to be a resident to speak at a public hearing?
You're supposed to be, but if unless they have a specific interest in the property or something.
Okay, that's why I let him speak, because he owns the building, so yeah. I don't think you can have any more of an interest.
Yeah.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 3004 9 North Main Street? Speak up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Dayal Patel.
Go ahead.
I'm also the part owner of the property, 9 North Main Street. And the property has so much vacancy these new tenants will be doing a good work for the society and improve the social environment around the place, will help the Connecticut state as well as the town of Enfield.
Okay, thank you. Going for the second time, anybody who would like to speak in favor or against? And going for the third time. Public hearing 3004, 9 North Main Street. Okay, seeing none, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing 3004.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Higley. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. And how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I move for the approval of the resolution for public hearing 3004 dated May 13, 2021, as prepared by the Planning Department with the 13 conditions indicated with 0 site-specific conditions.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner DeGray. All in, or roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Linda DeGray,
or
Virginia Higley,
4,
Frank Alamo,
4,
John Petronella,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
and Richard Zuzak is 4.
All in favor, none against. Congratulations. Welcome to Enfield, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Public hearing 3006, 90 Elm Street.
The Enfield Design Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on May 13th, Thursday at 7 p.m. online regarding public hearing 3006, 90 Elm Street, special permit and site plan review application to allow the construction of a 2,300 square foot Popeyes restaurant with a drive-through and associated parking lot. Enfield Square Realty LLC, Enfield CHLL, and Enfield LLC owners. Enfield Development LLC, attention Mr. Ed Backish, applicant. R.J. O'Connell and Associates, attention Mr. Steve Galati, applicant, representative, lot 43, map 43, lot 17, VR zone. Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
here,
Virginia Higley,
here,
Michael Limo,
here,
John Petronella,
Here.
Vinnie Grillo,
Here.
and Richard Suzak is here.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. For the record, I'm Steve Glowacki with R.J. O'Connell and Associates. We are the civil engineers on the project. We're located at 80 Montvale Avenue, Stoneham, Massachusetts. Joining me tonight for questions, should they arise, is Ed Bash, also from PN Restaurants, and will be available for questions at the end of our presentation.
Okay, thank you. Did you bring a virtual bucket of chicken for us?
Yes, you can almost taste it.
I wish I had smell-o-vision on this computer. All right, well, welcome. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
Sure. The proposal is for a 2,300 square foot Popeyes restaurant with a drive-through and associated parking to be located at the Enfield Square at 90 Elm Street. It is allowed by special permit in the business regional zones. The site itself is approximately 0.833 acres. It's part of a parcel that was subdivided in 2019 for the overall lot configuration of the Enfield Square. And it is located at the northwest corner of the Enfield Square Mall. It's bounded by the Outback to the east, Friendly's and the Access Drive to the west, the mall itself to the south, and it fronts on Elm Street to the north. The site parking lot contains 23 spaces. Now, per code for 2,300 square foot drive-through, we require 31 spaces. However, it should be noted that there are 3,355 existing spaces. And when you add the 23 spaces, we have a total of 3,378 spaces, while there are 3,146 required spaces, leaving a surplus of 232 spaces. Drive-through lane wraps around the site, around the building, serving the drive-through window and reader boards, and it's sufficient for 10 vehicle stacking spaces. There is pedestrian connectivity provided from the existing sidewalk to the west via the accessible loading areas between the accessible handicap spaces. There's also a refuse area proposed for the northeast corner, which is enclosed with a wall and a gate in the front. There is a site lighting program provided, which is detailed on the lighting plan, sufficiently lights the parking area with downcast LED fixtures, which prevent the spillage of light into other areas. The development of this will result in approximately 21,000 square feet of additional impervious area. To mitigate stormwater associated with that, we've provided a comprehensive plan, which is detailed on C2 and also outlined in the stormwater report that was provided as part of the materials. The stormwater will be directed through catch basins with sumps, hoods, and will be directed through a particle separator and eventually into a subsurface system, drainage system. And the roof water will be directly piped into that as well. So we will mitigate stormwater effectively. We've provided a plan that shows extensive erosion control measures, which include straw wattles, a vehicle tracking pad, filter bags in the catch basins, and a construction fence and gate, which will be erected for construction activities. As you can see from the plan, the parking lot's been designed in accordance with the standards as noted above. And that will also include a very comprehensive landscape design, which is also provided in the package. We will exceed the requested regulations by providing more shade trees than called for. We've received some comments from Dan Parisi, which we've addressed via your website, your online website, and we answer everything in the affirmative to sufficiently answer his questions. In summary, we think the project is a good fit for the area, harmonious with the area, of course, with other restaurants in the area, and it's been designed to meet all the local and state regulations. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. I'll start since I don't see any hands. Do you think you could find a better location for the dumpster? I mean, that's right in front of the building on Elm Street, and the mall is, you know, granted the mall is kind of vacant, but the Elm Street corridor of the mall, it's pretty attractive. They make it look nice out back and everything else. And, you know, that dumpster is really going to block the sight line of the outback when people are driving down. And I just don't see that it being in the front of the building is the best spot for it. Not that I'm going to redesign your parking lot, but if you put it to the left where you pull in and out of the parking lot, and, you know, whatever spaces you lose there, you could move to where it currently is. That moves it to the back of the building and it's out of sight. I would think that'd be more attractive for you also.
That's a very good point. The challenge with these type of buildings is because they're surrounded by all sides, that we feel that there are impacts on several sides. We've taken effort to screen it sufficiently with a wall. And then also, if you look at the landscape plan, we do provide some landscaping around that in an effort to soften that look.
Yeah, it just, okay. Any other commissioners' questions?
Good. Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Suzak.
Because I guess I would, first I'd like to just comment that I would agree with, you know, our chair that, you know, normally what you want to do is you don't want to put your dumpster in your front yard, and basically, you know, Elm Street is the front yard. of what's going on here. And it just seems inappropriate to have that dumpster pad right there in terms of, you know, I think there's a lot better locations for that. And, you know, we don't, again, it has to be congruous with, you know, the surrounding area, and a dumpster is not, you know, congruous with, you know, what's going on there. Because the only other comment I would have is that, you know, although you make mention of the fact that there is, you know, 300 or 3,000 additional parking spaces in the mall itself, it would be difficult to believe that somebody's going to walk very far in order to, you know, park and then come to Popeyes. And that, you know, more likely than not, they would either park in Figaro's or they would park in the Outback, you know, parking lot, you know, that's just adjacent to Popeyes or this proposed location to you know, if there wasn't adequate parking. So, you know, and again, you know, I don't know that, you know, if you need to put up some signs, say, you know, please, you know, respect, you know, our neighbors, you know, parking areas and don't necessarily park in their areas or not. But, you know, I think that, you know, something should be added so that, you know, people recognize that, you know, Popeyes doesn't own, you know, Outback or Figaro's parking lots.
If I may, the program for Popeyes typically relies on 21 spaces. Your bylaw, of course, is looking for, I think, 33, if I recall. Yes, I'm sorry, for 31 spaces. So the program's been designed in excess of what Popeyes typically requires. And again, we respect the bylaw and the regulations in town. However, given the volume of drive-through business that Popeyes does, they find that the 20 or so, I'll say, spaces are sufficient to accommodate their everyday needs. And as for the dumpster, if I may continue, I'll check with the client, but I don't see an issue with us exploring moving that perhaps to a different location. I don't want to give the impression that we're, you know, against the commission's recommendations.
And again, I think that would be a prudent modification, or even as a condition, I would accept that. But like you said, it just seems inappropriate to put it right in your front yard, and it's like having a garbage can sitting in your driveway all the time, and everybody who drives by is looking at your garbage can and saying, "Why can't he put that away somewhere?"
Yeah, no,
So,
I understand.
in that sense, I think it would be appropriate not to have it in our front yard.
Can I ask what exactly the height of that screening is and what the material exactly is? I see some shrubbery. What's the wall constructed of, and the height, please?
The wall's constructed of CMU, and I believe it's a 8-foot high wall, if I'm not mistaken.
And then in front of the wall, what's the shrubbery going to be?
I'm not sure I can't recall the exact species, but it's not very tall, the species. It's probably 30 inches. So it does screen the wall somewhat, but the wall itself acts as the screening for the trash enclosure.
Thank you. One more thing. So Chairman Nelson mentioned the line of sight for Outback. Is that blocking Outback sign or anything like that?
No, we don't believe it'll block their sign from that area. One of the things that we're doing over here is reducing some of we're opening up essentially the visual corridor in the front by virtue of moving some of those or removing some of those shade trees and replacing them in other locations. So I think we're opening up this line of sight, and I don't believe that will block any of their line of sight.
Okay. And any quick thoughts of any other locations on this parcel where you could possibly move that dumpster? Because you're going to see it from no matter where you are because of the way the lot is. It's just wide open there. So if you're sitting in Figaro's, you're going to see it. If you're sitting in Friendly's, you're going to see it. If you're sitting in Outback, you're going to see it. So, I mean, yeah, it's in the front now, but it's not like nobody's going to see it because just the configuration.
Well, that's what I sort of implied with my initial response. It's a challenging site in a good way because there's visibility from all sides. But the challenge, of course, is that you have many front doors, I'll say, even though the building faces the street. So there are locations where it's going to show in some location. That's why we think the screening is sufficient given the material for the enclosure.
Thank you for your answers.
My pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to ask the commissioners, please raise your hands so we're not stepping on each other.
Ken, the hand raising icon is gone when the map goes up. I don't see my hand raising.
I'm looking at them right now. I have 3 other commissioners in front of you.
Right. I just don't see it anymore. It's gone.
Okay, well.
Sorry.
Commissioner Grillo.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Sir, I have a question. If you went where that dumpster is on the exit, the opposite end of the west entrance road, where the transformer pad is, if you go down, you have 2 parking spots. One says at 27 feet and one at 9. Bottom right-hand corner, if you're looking at the screen, you've already got a whole bunch of shrubs. It looks to be right there. If you make that wall, and this is just a suggestion, but I think it would work. First of all, you'll be in the back corner. It's close to the building, but if you made that a 3-sided wall and you did that shrubs on that corner right there, on that whole outside corner, that would hide it, I think, pretty well. Because on the west entrance side, if you had the shrubberies like you show there, that will get big enough. But I truly believe that spot, looking at the map and looking at the buildings on both sides, that rightfully is the right, that's where that dumpster should go. And if you have the walls there with the shrubberies around it, it's gonna disappear in that back corner. You should be far enough away. I'm thinking, I'm looking, I didn't take out my ruler, but you should be far enough away from the entrances where the fire marshal or anybody else shouldn't have any problems. Just a suggestion, but I'm also not liking that dumpster in that front corner.
Thank you for your suggestion, Mr. Grillo. It does seem like an appropriate location. It does offer, it's the layout of the lot does seem to suggest it could fit there reasonably with the relocation of some of the screening and then an offset of the parking, if you will. And we'll certainly look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner DeGray.
Sorry, I have to unmute myself. You're saying that the wall is supposed to be 8 feet. Don't normally we only allow a 6-foot high fence? I know you're trying to screen a dumpster, but if it was moved, I'm kind of on the same line with Commissioner Grillo on that. So, moving it over to this right-hand corner.
Yeah, you're suggesting that the lower left-hand corner in view, which I believe is the north, I'm sorry, the south west corner.
I thought he was talking about the southeast corner.
I was talking about the right corner away from west entrance.
Oh,
right.
My
Yeah,
mistake.
Right.
opposite end of the west, you would want it right almost straight across from where it is now inside
Right.
the little.
Yeah, that little
Correct.
curve. Yeah.
Because you can cover and hide everything. You look like you already have shrubs there. Is that you moving the little?
It's not me. It's not me.
I feel like I'm moving it or something, but I'm not. That's the corner I'm talking about, sir. I'm sorry, Steve.
No, thank you for the clarification.
All right, so right there,
Yes, yes.
right, that's where I originally said. And I mean, I don't care if they put it in the left corner either, because when you pull out, it's a right turn only, because that's a boulevard right there, so you wouldn't have a sightline issue. But, you know, going towards Commissioner Alimo, how frustrated do you get when your neighbors leave their trash cans out all week? This is a main thoroughway through Enfield, and we're gonna look at dumpsters? I don't think so. And, you know, along with what Commissioner Suzak said, I would have no problem making it a condition of approval. But I do not want the dumpster in the front of the building. It's not fair to the other restaurants or the entrance to the mall. We all know dumpster areas look beautiful when they're brand new, but in 5 years, there's grease barrels out there, there's spilled grease, there's boxes, the fences are ripped down. And I don't care what you do to a CMU wall, it's ugly. You know, so I would ask that a condition of approval be that the dumpster is moved to the back parking area, and it's entirely up to you where, but I just don't want it on a sight line of Elm Street. Commissioner Suzak, your hand is up. Did you want to speak again?
Yes, I just want to reinforce, you know, what the discussion is, the direction this discussion is going in terms of, I agree that, you know, what normally happens is that masonry walls, unfortunately exposed to the weather on all sides, eventually deteriorate. There's always water infiltration, the freeze thaw cycles, and everything starts falling apart. And the fact that, you know, there's always, you know, wind blowing, and sometimes people don't close covers to dumpsters, and all of a sudden you get, you know, loose papers flying around, and it's only going to be flying in your front yard. And, you know, if it's flying in your backyard, you know, I don't really care, but it really shouldn't be flying into the street. So I also would support, you know, providing a condition that the dumpster be moved to the back. So I will include that. Thank you.
And I'm also allowing, and I just want to clarify, you know, if you're taking 2 spaces from the rear to put the dumpster in, you could put the 2 spaces where the dumpster pad currently is. So you're offsetting your parking, and you wouldn't have to come back to us for that. So, you know, just flip flop. So anyone else before I open it to the public? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up public hearing 3006 90 Elm Street, special permit and site plan to allow Popeyes to come to town. Going for the first time, second time, third time, it's closed. Moving on. Okay, first time, is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against? Going for the first time. If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Going for the second time. And going for the third time. Okay, seeing none, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing 3006.
Motion's made. Is there a second? And seconded by Commissioner DeGray. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, public hearing is closed. How would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for the approval of the resolution to approve public hearing 3006 dated May 13th, 2021, as prepared by the Planning Department with 25 conditions originally indicated with site-specific conditions. And we are going to add an additional site-specific condition that the dumpster be relocated to the rear of the building, and that any spaces displaced by the dumpster could possibly be utilized in the direction the dumpster is normally located, so that the parking does not have to be modified.
Okay, motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Grillo. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Virginia Higley.
4.
Frank Alimo.
4.
John Petronella.
4.
Vinnie Grillo.
4.
And Richard Suzak is 4.
Okay, it's unanimous. Congratulations and welcome to Enfield.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the comments. Have a great night.
You too.
Good night.
Okay. Moving on, public hearing 3007, 11 Shaker Road.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, May 13, 2021 at 7 p.m. online regarding public hearing 3007, 11 Shaker Road, special permit and site plan review application to allow the construction of a 10,000 square foot daycare facility. Michael, Jeffrey, and Joseph Delant, owner, Win Stanley LLC, attention, Eric Spunken,
No,
applicant.
Winston LLC.
Oh, Winston, I'm sorry, Winston Properties LLC, I'm sorry. I'm confused. Applicant J.R. Russo and Associates LLC, attention, Tim Kuhn, applicant representative, map 64, lot 106, limited office zone. Ken Nelson.
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
Virginia Higley.
Here.
Michael Imo.
Here.
John Petronella.
Here.
Ginny Grillo.
Here.
And Richard Suzak is here.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Tim Kuhn. I'm a professional engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates, here tonight representing Winston Properties LLC, along with Eric Spungen, who is the main partner of Winston Properties. You may recall we were in front of you last month seeking a text amendment to allow this proposed use in the limited office zone as well as the 10,000 square foot building. We thank you again for approving that text amendment, and we are here tonight seeking the second step, which is the approval of the site plan and special use permit. If I may share my screen, if I have that ability, I will. It looks like I do. And we'll start with okay, so the existing site, which is this parcel here, it is located to the north of Shaker Road. Shaker Road is on to the south. It's 2.19 acres roughly. But the address is 11 Shaker Road, and it's, as I mentioned before, it's zone limited office. It's abutted to the north by the Henry Bernard School, to the east by a residential home, to the west by residential homes off of Ganny Terrace, and to the south across Shaker Road by the Walgreens Pharmacy, an attorney's office. This is the Way Learning Center, which is another daycare, and undeveloped industrial land. The site itself is undeveloped and currently overgrown with brush. What we are proposing is a 10,000 square foot child development center. The building would be located centrally in the site. To the rear of the site, there will be a 5,000 square foot playground, which will be surrounded by a fence. It will be accessed off of Shaker Road down at the southwest corner. In response to comments that we received both from engineering and the police department, we have modified this curb cut so that it is designed with an island and signage to limit it to right turn in and right turn out. Due to the traffic and speeds on Shaker Road, it was a concern and thought best to prohibit the left-hand turns, which would result in crossing of Shaker Road into the far lane. So we revised this the curb cut, so now it's right turn in, right turn out. As you can see, we're proposing parking lots in front of the building as well as one to the rear. The zoning requirements for parking is 52 spaces for this size building and the number of employees and children. And we are providing 53 spaces, which is shown on this plan. The site will be served by municipal water, sanitary sewer, and natural gas. The sewer will actually be pumped out to our west through an easement that we will obtain from 10 Gaining Terrace to the existing sanitary sewer manhole in Gaining Terrace. The applicant has an agreement with the property owner for this easement. The paperwork is being reviewed and finalized by his mortgage company. And obviously we would submit a copy of this easement and it would be recorded prior to the start of construction. I will also note that Dan Parisi of the WPCA has reviewed our sanitary sewer design and has approved it. With regard to drainage, the site parking lots have been designed to sheet flow stormwater to the surrounding, essentially there's going to be a surrounding depression which goes pretty much all the way around the site. We did some test pits out here, very sandy soils, very good for infiltration. So we want to take advantage of that. So all our stormwater is simply going to sheet flow off into this depression where it will be allowed to infiltrate back into the ground. And we did submit a drainage report with the calculations indicating that the depression is sized sufficiently so that we have no flooding issues and no increase in peak discharge from our site. We're showing a dumpster pad for the dumpsters at the rear of the parking or the rear of the property at the end of the parking lot. This will be located on a concrete pad surrounded by silt fence with privacy slats as well as ringed by arborvitaes for screening. There will be internal sidewalks to connect the parking lots to the building. There is also, based on comments we received from the town engineer, the existing bituminous sidewalk, which currently runs across the frontage of the site, will be replaced with a new concrete sidewalk meeting the town standards. We're proposing a permanent monument sign, which will meet all the sign requirements for zoning up along this at the site entrance. Site lighting will be provided by a series of pole-mounted light fixtures. They'll be mounted at 20 feet maximum height, full cutoff fixtures, LED. We did provide a photometric plan. One of the planning department or the planning comments was to recommend investigating ways to eliminate some of the light levels right at the property line, which was right around here. There were a couple of them which were 0.1 kind of right at the property line. We did provide a photometric plan with this, so that's what they were reviewing. After consultation with our lighting consultant, we can reduce those lighting levels simply by taking this light fixture here, which is the closest one, and turning one of these light fixtures 90 degrees. So we have no problem with that being a condition of approval. We address the staff comments to reduce those light levels because we can do it very simply by just turning the light fixture. With regard to landscaping, due to being surrounded by residential zone properties to the east, north, and west, we are subject to the requirement to provide a type C landscape buffer along those property lines. And what you'll see in the dark green here is our 35-foot type C buffer. We have a detail. It's essentially the buffer is a mixture of shrubs, canopy trees, and evergreen trees to provide screening to these residential neighbors. In addition, we are proposing street trees along our frontage as well as trees for parking lot landscaping. There are no wetlands on the site. However, there were some wetlands identified off to the northeast of our parcel. And as a result, we did seek an application for a permit, and that was granted as an agent approval last week. So we do have our wetlands approval. We did receive comments from engineering, and we addressed them all, other than I believe there's just a few minor comments with regard to notes and some details that still need to be revised, and we're happy to address those as conditions of approval. As I mentioned before, we received Dan Parisi's approval of the sanitary sewer, and that mentioned that the police had requested that we make the change that we have made at our curb cut. Another question that the police department brought up was whether or not there would be buses coming in and out of this site. And the answer to that question is no. There's no bus drop off or pickup at this site. So we did not have to worry about configuring our parking lots in order to allow those buses to be able to turn around. In summary, we believe that actually, before I go to my summary, I will show you the architectural plans because we did submit architecturals. As you can see, this is the buildings. The bottom elevation is the south elevation facing the street. And the building has a stone veneer at the bottom portion of the buildings. Then it's drive-it with a sand pebble finish for siding. They're going to have a band, a little color band to kind of break up the walls so that there's some different colors, a different color trim at the top. And along the sides, there's also, again, a stone veneer. So it's really going to be a nice looking building. All the rooftop mechanicals are going to be hidden behind a parapet. You can see through here that they're showing mechanicals on the roof, but they will be hidden and not visible from the street or surrounding properties. So with that, I'd just like to summarize that we believe that the proposed facility and use will be in harmony with the neighborhood and will not create any public safety issues. And we would hope that you would approve the application this evening. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Suzak. Are you muted, Rich?
Okay. I guess, my major concern for this development is the fact that, we're utilizing the periphery of the lot for drainage and storage of water in terms of, I guess I have a problem with that only because the fact that, during significant periods of rainfall that, the ground gets saturated, and after the ground gets saturated, the water has to run somewhere. And basically, it appears that, all the water is either going to run onto your neighbor's yards because it's not going to stay on your property because of the fact that, everything is improved, or there's a significant amount of improvement in impervious surfaces that are dumping water into the periphery. And I know that unfortunately the town has been liable for other areas that, cause distress or modify the performance of, a certain owner's property, and that ultimately we have to rectify something that we approve. So I'm not that comfortable of, just allowing the water to flow to the neighbors' yards. And I hear that you're saying, yeah, it's going to infiltrate, but everybody says that. and I wonder what kind of guarantee will you give us that, if a problem occurs on the neighbor's property, you will fix it. And it won't be just a condition of approval. Somewhere it has to state that, because, people just forget that, what's on drawings, and, all they know is that, oh, you approved it, you should have had better foresight, and now it's your problem. And I know that the town is responsible for the decisions that we make. And if we make a poor decision, the town has to correct it. So in that vein, I am not comfortable with just allowing surface runoff to the periphery that's going to cause water, that could possibly cause water to flow onto the property owner's land and create a disturbance to them.
Thank you, commissioners. Go ahead.
If I could address that.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, we did do test pits out here, and there are very, very sandy soils with a very fast permeability rate. We have provided drainage calculations based on the infiltration rates of the soils that are out there, which demonstrate that the water's not going to run over onto the abutters' properties. It's going to very quickly infiltrate back into the existing soils out there. This is a very large basin area, if you will, with a lot of surface area to allow for that infiltration.
Well, let me ask a quick question. In winter, when the ground is frozen, where's the water go?
In the winter, what we have
Right.
done is we have, and I will show you, we've done this at other locations. We provide for, we put trenches. And I got to get to the right sheet here. And let me blow this up.
And when the trenches freeze?
But, well, the trenches are stone and they go down into the ground so that they will not freeze.
Well, you know, the thing is, I've seen a lot of buildings that have gutters and the gutters always freeze in terms of whenever something's exposed to the weather and the potential for freezing and icing, and then all of a sudden we become responsible for that. You know, I really am uncomfortable with it. You know, I've just seen so many things to go wrong with this type of, if it was just your own land and you weren't that close to the periphery of your neighbors, I would say, fine, you have some place to absorb some of that water. And if it floods on your own property, then that's fine. But basically what you're doing is you're elevating, the entire area for your building and everything's just flowing outwards away from it. So,
but it will be contained on our property. It's going to go on the ground. We have measures that are going to assist getting it into the ground during the winter. Infiltration is the best management practice for all stormwater recommended by the DEP. That's what everything is going to. They want you to return as much as possible.
Normally you would collect it on your property, and if it floods, it would just flood your property.
Which it will here.
You're pushing everything out to the periphery, and if it floods, it's going to flood somebody else's property.
If what it's going to do first is flood our property. It's going to flood our basin. And then if there's an issue, it would go off onto the neighbor's property. But we've provided, like I said, we've provided calculations reviewed and approved by the town engineer. It's infiltration is the practice that everybody is promoting these days. So that's what we're looking to do out here. I don't know what kind of assurance can be put on a plan. Obviously, if there is a problem on our site, that the water was to flood onto the neighbor's property, we would be civilly responsible for that. I don't believe it would be the town's responsibility. It would be the property owner's responsibility, and they would have to take measures to rectify that.
It's just amazing what the town gets blamed for, and I just am very uncomfortable with it. And I guess I just might be an old dinosaur, but anytime you have a driveway or something happens, the town has to take responsibility for it. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Suzak. Along the lines with what Commissioner Suzak's saying, I was looking at the topo around the property, and the most I see is a 2-foot drop in elevation from the trenches to the parking lot. What I don't see is what's on the other side of the trenches. What is the elevation of the surrounding properties? Because if the surrounding properties are lower, then before that water backs up on your property, it's going to flood their properties. And we can't have that. I mean, you're surrounded by quite a few properties, and it's just not fair to the residents. So, and I don't know if it would help Commissioner Suzak if he saw what the elevations were, on the other side of the berm or trench, whatever you want to call it, on the neighbor's property. I mean, is that water going to run downhill right towards their house if it overflows these trenches? Because you represent that it's a large area, but it's really not that deep. And
it doesn't have to be. Again, the calculations demonstrate that there's sufficient area and storage in here so that we're not creating an issue with flooding out the property. It will flood, all of this lawn area will flood first before it goes anywhere. The elevations, probably the lowest elevations we have, and let me zoom in.
128 is what I saw.
Well, no. So there's basically all around the property, it comes down from our property line. 128.5 is the bottom of the depression all the way around the property. And then it's essentially the berm on the other side between us and the abutting properties. The lowest spot is 129.5. There's a low, this is an area where it's 129.5. So if it did flood and was going to spill over, it would spill over here, which was up at the front of the parcel and then would go out to the street.
I believe it's the same on the left front corner.
Okay, this is the right rear corner again, the 129.5. So it same elevation as the right front corner. Here it would go off toward the wetland toward the northwest.
Right, but you're saying 129.5, the parking lot is 129.5.
Yes, at the lowest spot.
So why would the water run? I mean,
the water's going to run into this depression all the way around the building where it will infiltrate into the ground. If it doesn't infiltrate, as I mentioned, it will back up. It will pond in all these areas, and it will head out likely this low spot up at the southeast corner or the northwest corner. The other sites, the other sides of the property, I believe, are similar. 129.5 around the property.
Right. I guess I would want to see the elevations on the abutting properties.
It's going to go. The abutting properties are lower than our site. Yes.
Well, your first comment
but
was
not our basins.
Right. Your first comment was if the basins fill up, it would flood your site first. Well, then it would flood the neighbors, and that's not correct. It's going to flood the neighbors first, and you're protecting your site.
What I meant to say, it will flood our basin of lawn areas first.
Right, and then it's going right into the neighbor's property, not onto your property. Shouldn't you be the one at risk and not the neighbors?
Based on the calculations, there's not a risk there. I suppose we could lower our site and lower the building so that if it did flood, it'd flood more into the parking lot. But the other issue we have is that the water table below the basins, we have to maintain a certain separation distance. So we can't really lower these basins to make them any deeper.
Right, because the water table is pretty high over there.
Yes, it is.
Right, so the grounds, along with Commissioner Suzak, the ground's not going to take that much water before it starts coming up.
It will. That's why we've done the calculations to demonstrate that. Right. We're above the water table, and we have the storage and infiltration capacity to take the runoff from our site. Unfortunately, we don't have a water body or a wetland or anything where we can discharge to.
Why can't you do a detention pond where the temporary stockpile is?
That I have no outlet.
Well, you have no outlet with what you have right now. At least it would give you more storage capacity.
Well, the issue is that if by digging this deeper here, then we get to the point where we don't maintain the separation to the water table anymore.
Okay.
That would be essentially, it would be the same thing we have now, just providing more storage capacity. But as I mentioned, we've demonstrated that what we have now, it has sufficient storage capacity.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Commissioner Alaimo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm looking at Town Engineer Jim Cabibo's comments here, and I'm thinking he's talking about the same thing that's being discussed currently. He says the details for a proposed stone trench is only 16 inches. Typically, ground frost penetrates to 48 inches. It is recommended that the stone trench detail depth be 48 inches or be increased. Is that what we're talking about? What
No,
Cabibo's
that revision has already been made.
Right, but is this the trench? Is this relative to the runoff we're discussing here?
Yes, it is. Yep. And
Okay,
it's
so
relative to the stone trenches that were-
inside in the perimeter.
Yes.
Okay, did you make those correct? Is it going to be 48 inches like the town engineer required and requested?
We compromised on 36, knowing that that frost depth around here is 42 inches, and with capillary rise, that the 36 would be sufficient. So it has been modified to address this comment. Yes.
Did the town engineer agree with your? Would you say 36?
Yes. There's another memo from John Cabibo, subsequent, that's dated May 11th, which says most of my previous comments have been addressed. There were 3 minor items, including the old standard town notes were added, and the phone number is outdated. The phone number should be revised to schedule inspections. The mill and pave detail for the permanent pavement repair on the town road was added, but the plan view still does not show the 20-foot wide mill and pave area on Danny Terrace on plan sheet 5 of 9. Also on sheet 5 of 9, it's noted that the sidewalk on Danny Terrace should be patched with permanent pavement patch. This should be revised to concrete sidewalk. Because the town recently replaced the bituminous sidewalks with concrete. So those were his 3 follow-up issues after the original memo, which included all his comments that are listed in the planner's memo.
Okay, but I'm sorry, maybe I didn't hear the part where he's okay with 36 inches opposed to 48.
Well, he says the previous comments have been addressed with the exception of the 3 minor issues that I just read.
Okay, I just would feel a little more comfortable if he said okay with 36 somewhere in those sentences, but maybe we can make that a condition of approval if need be. So that is exactly what Cabibo's talking about here, is that whole perimeter drainage.
That's a frost issue, Commissioner Alimo.
But he's
So
talking
it doesn't freeze up like Commissioner Suzak was addressing.
Right. So he is talking about the drainage, that he wants to see the stone increased so it doesn't freeze up. And with that said, he's okay with it.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to be sure that the town engineer is okay with what we're talking about here. And the only other thing I would want to see, maybe it already is a condition of approval, is the easement document here for the sewer line. Obviously, you can't build without a sewer line, but that's the only other thing I would want to see. I know you said the paperwork is in process.
Yeah, that's fine. We would need that prior to construction, so there's no issue with making it a condition that we submit that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Alimo. Is there no sewer line on Shaker Road right there, Tim?
No, there's not. It ends actually at the intersection of Danny Terrace and Shaker Road.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Suzak.
Again, the only point I want to make is that, you know, the ground freezes and normally what you have to do is you have to provide enough heat to prevent whatever is adjacent to the cold weather or cold temperatures to prevent them from freezing. And that, you know, normally if you had the entire site blanketed with a stone, you know, base to 3 feet, I would say fine, because now all of a sudden, you know, that soil is not frozen because, you know, the stone protects it and it allows, you know, you to fill that 3 feet void of stone with water. But the fact that you have soil that is frozen, you know, you can't infiltrate water into frozen soil, so that the water just backs up. And then once, you know, the soil is frozen, it's not going to accept or allow any more infiltration because of the fact that, you know, you need to have that temperature gradient that's going to keep supplying heat to keep the frost from forming. And I don't see that exists in terms of, once the ground freezes, it doesn't absorb any more water. I mean, my backyard floods all the time because of the fact that in the wintertime, when it's frozen, there's no place for the water to go.
You have,
And
you have
and,
3 feet of
and I
stone?
only have a backyard that's surface drained. And, I'm not taking impervious surfaces and trying to, put it into, something that's frozen. So now all of a sudden, what happens is that the frozen surfaces don't accept any water. So all of a sudden, where's the water going? and I don't want to belabor the point, but again, I don't think that, I'm in favor of this because of that condition that we're going to affect your neighbors' yards, and then we're going to be liable for it, and the town's going to have to fix it. So, again, I'm not sure, what we can do, but somehow we have to not have the town responsible for the decisions we're making.
Well, with the 3 feet of stone, Rich, what's gonna freeze?
Well, yeah, but it's only 3 feet of stone for 12 inches wide or 2 feet wide. It's not in around the entire area. So everything that's, beyond that width of that stone is frozen.
Right,
And
but it'd be a
everything that's
curtain
beyond
drain.
that-
The water would sheet flow over the frozen soil to the curtain drain.
Right. So, but then when it reaches that drain, and the drain isn't continuous all around the periphery. All he has are these little slots, that might be, 25 feet, and then there's 500 feet, in between them, or 75 or 100 feet in between them. So it's not a continuous drain. It's just a slot drain that occurs at all these locations. So you can sort of see that,
Yeah, I see it. I see it now.
So all the ground adjacent to all these slots is frozen. So where's it going?
Yeah, I see what you're
It'll
saying now.
eventually make it to these trench drains. Again, if there is an issue, it's the property owner that's going to be held responsible. I don't see how it's going to be the town. If there's some language that you want to put in as a condition of approval that more says it is the property owner's responsibility, I think that would be fine. But again,
Can I say something at this point, Rick, Tim?
Go ahead. Yep.
This is Eric Sponge, and I'm a part of Winston Properties LLC. I'm the developer of the property. I'm confident enough, and I've used Tim and his firm long enough that if he's telling me that the calculations and the preferred way to go is this way, then the responsibility can be with the property owner, because he wouldn't do it any other way. And I know, and my experience with him proves that to me. So I don't have a problem with leaving the town not responsible in some language that you're comfortable with, that continues this process, because I firmly believe that what he's saying will be the way it works in the field. And he's proven it to me on many, many occasions that that's the way things work out. So that's my position, if that makes you feel more comfortable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Alamo, your hand's still up?
Yep, no, it's up again.
Okay, go ahead, Frank.
Thank you. So I'm looking here again at the town engineer's comments. So he specifically mentions ground frost and suggests the 48 inches. So you're saying there was a compromise to 36 inches, and obviously Cabibo is okay relative to ground frost.
Yes.
I guess I'm a little confused as to why this is an issue if the applicant's professionals are saying that it's going to work. And apparently our town, well, we don't see him saying, okay, 36 inches, but apparently our town engineer is saying 36 inches of stone is going to be okay. So I guess I'm a little confused as to why this won't work. Thank you.
The 36 inches, Frank, is strictly for frost.
Right.
Right. So what Commissioner Suzak's concerned about is all the other areas that don't have that trench. When that ground freezes solid, that water is not going to penetrate. So if you have excessive snowfall, which we all know the water sits on top of it, and those drains get frozen over, because of an ice storm or whatever, that water's gonna build up. The stone is strictly for a frost. It's not for a storage. It's
Right,
so
so-
the water can get down.
Right, and that's what I think the discussion has been. So it's just so I'm sure, the whole perimeter, this drain we're talking about, it's going to be
Not the whole
constructed.
perimeter. It's not the whole perimeter. It's those little hash lines you see in the drains. In this swale, you'll see there's one at the back of the property. You know, there's one on right and left about a quarter of the way up, and then
Okay.
3/4 of the way up. And then there's one in the front. For all that, for 5, whatever the frontage is there's one across down Shaker Road.
Right, so when I first asked the question, the response back was from the engineer was a whole perimeter is going to have 36 inches, 2 feet wide, somebody said, of stone. So maybe I misunderstood what he was saying.
I apologize, because
I did say the perimeter, and you said yes.
well, the whole perimeter is the storage area and the infiltration area. We have designed 6 50-foot long stone trenches within the bottom of that to handle the situation if there's frozen grounds. The water will get to those and go in through those.
Now I understand the concern. I thought you had said the whole perimeter all the way around will have stone, so the water would run into it, sheet off into that area.
Well, it will ultimately make it to those 50, those sections of 50-foot trench. If it makes the commission more comfortable to make those longer or continuous, we could do that too.
I envisioned them, I see them now. I envisioned them continuous when we first spoke, when I first asked the question.
Well, if they were continuous, you'd have more water storage also, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and you'd have more location for the water to get below any frost.
Right. And instead of a detention pond, you'd basically have a narrow detention pond around the entire property that's below grade.
Well, it's essentially, that's what you have now, only it's
Right,
an
but
infiltration basin.
Right.
But now they're only 50-foot slots and they're scattered about.
Yeah, but the storage is actually in the depression itself, not necessarily in the stone. The stone is just in the bottom. The trench is in the bottom.
Right. It's in the bottom of the trench, 36 inches down.
Actually, I keep calling this, think of this as a basin, if you will. All right, this all the way around it as one big basin with a stone trench in the bottom of it.
Right. And that stone trench goes down 36 inches.
Correct.
And it's
Correct.
2 feet wide.
Yes.
Right. So if you were to add that around the entire perimeter, that would add 36 inches by 2 feet more of water storage.
It would certainly, yes, it would increase the water storage and the ability to for the basin to drain.
And I'm sorry, that's exactly the way I understood what you said you had.
Right.
So
I would be okay if you did that, because I look at it that additional stone area would act as a detention pond, but not your detention pond. It would just be storage. And then it could leach. Yeah, I think you're going to have more direct leaching into the sandy soils with that stone, because now you got 3 feet on each side of that with no topsoil, nothing that's going to freeze over on you. And I think the water would leach in under the frost. I would be okay with that. And if you guys were okay with the condition of approval on that, I'm good with the drainage that way.
I am, because I'm good with it.
I believe we would be acceptable to a condition that would require that.
Commissioner Suzak, how do you feel about that?
That makes me a lot more comfortable, definitely, because, that, allows for more surface area and more infiltration into the ground, not necessarily just at these localized area, and the potential for all the areas to freeze obviously still exists, but there's always wherever there is, non-frost soils, they will absorb the water. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve, is we're trying to achieve a situation such that we don't create an adverse condition to our neighbors' areas. So, I would feel more comfortable with that. Yes.
Okay, and I mean, you could pipe under the driveway with stone and just make it a continuous trench all the way around. And I think at that point, you're demonstrating as much goodwill as you possibly can. But everybody says, the owner would be responsible. Unfortunately, the owner's the last one to get sued because they go to the deeper pockets. We approved something that didn't work. They're coming after us too. They'll sue the owner also, but they're going after both of us. And God knows we've been through it enough. So we're just trying to be cautious, and, it could avoid a lot of headaches for the owner in the future. So I'm good with everything with that condition of approval, that the 2-foot by 36-inch stone trench goes around the entire property. Any other commissioners' comments? Okay, seeing none. At this time, I'd like to open up public hearing 3008 to the public for the first time, 504 Hazard Avenue, special permit and site plan review for, 3007 11 Shaker Road, special permit and site plan to allow construction of a 10,000 square foot daycare facility, which I know this town needs desperately. So is there anybody in the public who would like to speak in favor or against this application? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Going for the first time? Going for the second time? And going for the third time, public hearing 3007 11 Shaker Road. Okay, seeing none, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing
3007.
Yeah, 3007.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and
Second.
seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, public hearing's closed. How would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve public hearing 3007. Date for the draft. Let me start again. I make a motion that we approve the resolution to approve public hearing 3007 dated May 13th as prepared by the planning department with the 26 conditions indicated, the one additional site specific condition that exists in our current resolution, and to add one additional site specific condition that there be a continuous 2-foot by 36-inch deep trench drain that goes around the entire perimeter of the building to allow infiltration of water at the entire periphery of the building. Or not the building, the site where the trenches are located, they just be connected as a continuous trench drain.
Okay, motion's and seconded by Commissioner DeGray. Roll call, please.
Nelson.
4.
Ray.
4.
Virginia Higley.
4.
Frank Alimo.
4.
John Petronella.
4.
Vinnie Grillo.
4.
And Richard Suzak is 4.
All in favor, none against. Congratulations, and I wish you the best of luck because I do know Enfield needs daycare. So
Thank you
good luck
very
with
much.
the facility.
Very much.
Good luck,
Thank
gentlemen.
you very much. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Good
You
luck.
too. And then Lori, if you could send the commission John Cabibel's comments where he agreed to the 36-inch depth, please.
Will do.
Thank you very much. Okay, now moving on, public hearing 3008 504 Hazard Avenue.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, May 13th, 2021 at 7 p.m. online regarding public hearing 3008 504 Hazard Avenue, special permit and site plan review application to allow a farmer's market associated with Potter Hollow Brewery and RD Winery 10 Water Street LLC owner, Michelle McAuliffe and Michael McManus applicants, map 101, lot 216, I-1 zone. Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
I almost forgot you again.
Again?
Eugene Higley,
Here.
Frank Alamo,
Here.
Don Petronella,
Here.
Denny Grillo,
Yeah.
and Richard Suzak is here.
Great. Is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yep, my name is Mike McManus. I'm the owner of Powder Hollow Brewery, 504 Hazard Ave, Enfield, Connecticut.
Hi, my name is Michelle McAuliffe. I'm the owner of RD Winery, 504 Hazard Avenue, Enfield.
Congratulations and welcome. Do we have virtual beer samples and wine sample to go with our beer tonight or with our chicken tonight?
Check your inbox, it's right there.
There you go. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
So we'd like to start a farmer's market in our parking lot. We've got a pretty nice area for it. It goes along with the theme of what we do of, using locally sourced products and getting them out to the consumers. And we think it would be a great fit for our business and something that the town clearly enjoys and needs additional support on.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions? None?
No, I have one.
Go ahead, Commissioner DeGray.
Is this just going to be for the summer months? From
Correct.
say, okay,
Yes, this is going to be an outdoor only, so it's very weather dependent.
okay, great.
All right, great. Commissioner Higley.
That goes along with my question. If it rains on Saturdays, will you have it on Sundays or just wait for the next week?
I think unfortunately, due to the farmer's schedule, it would be up to them, but most likely it would have to be pushed to the following week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have outdoor seating? Didn't we approve a permanent outdoor seating area for you?
Yes, we just got an architect on board, so the town building department was nice enough to let us get started. So we are virtually done with the patio, and we have an architect drawing exactly what we built that we can now provide to the building department.
Okay, and you feel you're gonna have enough parking between this and the outdoor patio?
Oh yeah, we've got a nice overkill size parking lot at this property.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Grillo.
Yeah. Quick question, where on the property did you plan on having the market? I'm just wondering, I know the property pretty good. Is it gonna be in the front right corner? Is that where the big parking lot is, or on the?
It's gonna be
having it.
It's gonna be tucked in the back. So if you're entering into the brewery or the winery and our little manway doors, it'll be in that back parking lot area. So that way the big front parking lot and all the side parking that wraps around the whole property will still be available. And it gives us the most clear-cut way of making sure cars don't go anywhere near the market. And we've got these rain drums that we'll put so that cars know they can't come back there. But for an emergency vehicle, they could be moved in 5 seconds.
All right, that was gonna be my second question, where you are, because I know you got the area for it, just that you're gonna have to block it off somehow, some way, so cars, people don't always pay attention. And
Yeah, we'll use the rain drums, so it's nice and easy to move them.
Yep, that's cool, thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Higley, did you want to speak again? No, okay. Any other commissioners before I open it up to the public? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to open up public hearing 3008 504 Hazard Avenue. Special permit and site plan review to allow a farmer's market associated with Powder Hollow Brewery and RD Winery. If you would like to speak in favor or against this application, please state your name and address for the record. Going for the first time? Going for the second time? And going for the third time? Okay, seeing none, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing 3008.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Grillo. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, public hearing is closed. How would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I move for the approval of the resolution to approve public hearing PH 3008 dated May 13, 2021, as prepared by the Planning Department with the 14 total conditions and one site-specific condition.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner DeGray. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Linda DeGray,
or
Virginia Higley,
4,
Frank Alamo,
4,
John Petronella,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
and Richard Suzak is 4.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
I
We
wish you
appreciate your
guys the
time.
best. All
Thank
right,
you.
I
Thank
hope you have a great summer.
We're hoping so too.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. I see no old business.
Did we just only close the public hearing? Don't we have one more step?
we voted.
Okay, we're all
we
set?
voted.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Moving on. Old business, I see none. New business, I see none. Other business, withdrawal request, public hearing 2998. Lori, can you give us an update of why they withdrew?
I actually don't know. I think we were all surprised. They just called one day and said, I'm sorry, my video didn't go back on. They just called and said, we want to withdraw, we want all of our funds back, and we don't know why. Unless Jen, you heard otherwise.
No, that's, I mean, I never heard back from them when I told them that they needed a site plan. And then when I followed up with them, that's all they said is that they wanted to withdraw instead.
Okay. Do we need to move on anything on that, Lori?
I would just accept it without prejudice.
Okay.
Accept withdrawal without prejudice.
Do we normally return funds?
We don't have
No.
the ability to return funds without going to town council for approval.
Right, because there's been some administrative work done here in processing, and I'm not sure why we would return that amount of money.
So like I mean, if they withdrew it like after or something like that, but we have done work on this. And
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure you did.
but we don't have the ability to return funds once, legal ads have gone out and things of that nature.
Exactly. That's where I was going with it.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept this withdrawal request without prejudice.
So moved.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the withdrawal request has been accepted. Discussion items, discussing regarding temporary outdoor lighting for ball fields at Eli Whitney. Jen, Laura?
My mute bar is like up on the top, and I was looking for it on the bottom. So we would like to put, I'm trying to get this centered here. Here we go. We would like to put temporary outdoor lighting for the ball fields over at the school over by the library. Hold on. I can't see everything here for some reason. Here we go. So over at Eli Whitney, they would only be placed there, I think, from 5:30 to 8:30 on just a few nights. So we don't necessarily have anything in our regulations that, you know, for site plan approval or anything, but we do typically regulate lighting. So we thought we would bring it to you informally. This is the only site that they're planning to do this year. And quite honestly, if they stop at 8:30, you know, for most of the summer, it's out then anyway.
Weren't they gonna do Powder Hollow too, Lori?
So actually, I misunderstood what they were talking about with Paulo. They actually want to attempt to do full-time lighting there, permanent lighting. So that
Okay.
would, I think, would have to come before you certainly for a lighting plan.
Yeah. Well, I'm all in support of parks and fields and getting people out of their house, especially after this year. So it's temporary lighting. I don't see we need to make any move on this. How does the commission feel?
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine.
I do have to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer. I have driven over onto Meadow Road when the temporary lighting was on for the correct school, and it was almost blinding driving into Meadow Road, and that might be a concern to the neighbors. Even though you're saying it's temporary, it'll be shut off, but it's still, their floodlights, they're brighter than a street light, and the angle that they would be at, granted they're pointed down, but it's still going to flood into those houses. I mean, I personally like to go out and watch games at night, but I have a concern for the neighbors when we're talking about these big floodlights being pointed to the field and then going out into the neighborhoods, and for the cars that are driving. I know I'm the only Debbie Downer here, but it is
Okay.
something that you have to think about.
All right. Is there anyone else?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner Grillo.
Yeah, Commissioner DeGray, I hear what you're saying, but that baseball field is in the back corner. What's in the front of that? There's not a house for, what's that, South Road over there, and the houses that you're looking at in the back, that we're looking at right there, I honestly think that they are far enough. I know the lights you're talking about. I know the kids play into fall. So, okay, the sun's going to go down at 8. The lights may be on for a half hour. I don't think it would be a concern with the driving part. It's really far from the baseball field. You may be right, but just by going by there, I think the baseball field is blocked by partially the library and in all the trees that are really in front of the library, actually, that go across, that would probably avoid most of it.
I have to differ with that because the lights from the correct school are in their field.
Yep.
And there is a buffer, and the lights are further away than what we're talking about at this library area. But and you're saying, well, they're on, there's only going to be on for a short period of time. The first time I drove into Meadow Road and they were on, it kind of took me back. They are brighter than a normal street light, and it's something that we have to think about. And you're saying, well, it's still only going to be for a short period of time. But if you have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning and you're going to bed early, having dim light in your room when it's normally dark is an issue. Or have small children. That's all I'm saying. Just something to think about.
They're gonna
Oh.
shine into someone's house, that's all, from that far away. I don't.
They're not shining into the houses, but it's lighting up that whole area.
Okay.
Very bright.
Commissioner Petronella.
I don't really have a problem with it. I guess I understand that time restriction is going to be what, till 8:30? That's it? You know, Lori, is that correct?
Well, I don't think I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you now.
I said yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if there is an issue with glare and overlighting, I think we know who to call to maybe move or adjust some of the lights as well. So I don't have really any issue with this this request.
Okay, thanks, John. So you have consensus, Lori, to move ahead.
I had my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Frank. I didn't see
It's
it.
okay. Can I speak?
Yep.
So, Linda, are you concerned about the 4 houses on Middle Road? Is that what you're looking
Well,
at? Because the lights will be probably in the infield facing northeast.
All right,
So-
but you also have one on a house on Olmsted.
But that'll be behind that house will be behind the lights. The lights will be in the infield facing out. The lights will be facing northeast.
All right, if you look, they're not all facing northeast, Frank. They're going to be facing south.
Right. I see the
West.
little stars there. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking the ones in the outfield are going to be tipped down. I'm just looking at, you know what I'm saying? And the majority of them, the other 1, 2, 3, 4 fixtures are going to be going northeast and kind of south. Is that what you're looking at? Are you more concerned? I guess I'm asking about, are you more concerned about the houses on Middle or Olmsted?
I'm concerned about the houses on Olmsted and on Middle. They are brighter than a normal light, and
Well, because they're lighting up a field so they can see the
right,
ball.
and I understand. I know, but I'm concerned that the neighbors are going to be disturbed by it. That's all.
I think
that's my concern.
I think the Olmsted houses are very far away. It's the ones on Middle Road. I would think that, if anything, Olmsted's far away.
Okay. Commissioner Higley.
5-6.
I think that because they're temporary, this is the first time we're going to try it. And if the citizens that live around there have any issues and they can't be addressed, like in other words, they can't move the light or tweak it or move it down, then they might get rid of that light or not put it up for next year. So I have no problem with it. It's temporary. And if the citizens have a problem with it, and let the town know. And if the town can't address it, then they can take them down. But the kids have to play something.
Thank you, Jenny. Commissioner
Mhm.
Suzak.
You know, I agree with Commissioner Higley that, you know, it is temporary. The lights are directional so that, and they're portable, so that what happens is that if it's shining in a particular direction that is very uncomfortable for some of the residents, you could always just turn it 5 or 6 degrees and it's not going to shine in that direction anymore. It'll still light up the field like it's supposed to be lit up. So in that vein, I think that, you know, with the fact that they're mobile and relocatable and directional, that, you know, we can alleviate a lot of concerns. And, you know, obviously there's going to be, you know, the first setup that will be the test, and then adjustments will have to be made after that.
Thank you, Commissioner Suzak. So again, Lori, you have consensus from the commission. To be honest, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the Craig School and, you know, the people who have issues with it. They lost the schools there, and kids got to play and adults have to play. This is, you know, softball leagues for all the adults throughout town, the kids, we got to get out of our houses, and to argue over a light, a temporary light, is absurd. So you have consensus. I say light up all the ball fields for the summer, and it's only a half hour. I mean, I'm complaining about daylight savings time when it stays light till 9 o'clock at night because, it's too bright in your house. It's just, I don't get it. Moving on.
We don't have to vote?
No,
Okay.
it was a discussion.
Okay, I see it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Correspondence. Any? No.
Nope, I don't have anything.
Thanks, Jen. Commissioners' correspondence. I have one that I would like to discuss with the commission and staff. The governor's order is coming due, and if he doesn't renew his order, which I hope he doesn't, but if he doesn't, that's going to make all the temporary outdoor dining done illegal. And with what the restaurants have gone through this last year, I'm asking the commission that we do a local extension of it, at least until, say, maybe the end of October, so they can get through the summer months with their temporary outdoor dining, because there's still a lot of people out there who are very nervous. And I just feel anything we can do to help these restaurants try to recoup would be beneficial to them. And it'll also give them another 6 months, if they want to keep it permanent, to put their applications in.
Mr. Chair, I believe that the state extended that a year.
Till March.
Okay. So that has nothing to do with what happens in a week or two here?
Well, I don't believe so, because I think the state actually took action to extend the restaurant. I thought it was for a year, but we could double check. But this is what I was going to discuss in a minute, but all of these executive orders, we don't know where it's going at this point. We're going to assume, because we have no other information, that they're going to lift the ability for us to meet virtually, which means we will be meeting in person at our next meeting. However, I know that the town council chambers is not set up for that yet, and ETV is trying to figure out whether we're supposed to be doing, hybrid meetings or whatever. And then we're just waiting to find out what's going to happen with inside participation. So
Back to the restaurants again. Do we know that it was extended? Because I talked to Rick right at the end of winter, and he said you guys were waiting for the governor's orders because it was going to expire, like Chairman Nelson said, soon.
I believe they were extended by the state.
I think we have to make sure.
We'll double check, of course, but I'm almost positive about this.
Okay, if you find out
for the restaurants.
Just for restaurants, if you do find out that it is going to expire, can you have it on the next agenda, please, Lori?
Yep.
For us to discuss. Jen?
When is the expiration date? The old
March 22nd.
March 20th? No, I'm talking about the one we're discussing, the one we're concerned about.
May.
May. Okay.
This
May
month,
19th.
I think in a
May
week.
19th?
He extended it through this season and on to March.
Yeah, we're
Or
gonna
you'll check it out.
when that will expire, but the executive orders that we all know currently are all due to expire on May 19th or 20th. I've heard both dates.
Yep.
Okay,
And I was reading an article in the patch that says the state has extended Governor Lamont's pandemic authority until July 20th. So he still has his executive orders.
Well, we need
that just came out today.
Yep.
So then we are not in.
No,
we're not-
he's just extended his powers.
No, he got rid of the masks. He got rid of
But
the
he got-
masks.
Right.
We will find out tomorrow what the actual
Thank you,
extensions
Lori.
are. and
I
what they,
watched the president.
So my concern is that
I know.
we don't have a gap between our next meeting and the expiration date.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't.
Well, but we're also not going to take, if it's not extended, we're not going to go take measures to shut everybody down either, so.
Okay.
No.
Well, I mean, I would hope the whole state does it, and I hope he did extend it for restaurants. But if he didn't, I want to make sure that we do.
Great.
Okay. Commissioner Higley?
My hand is stuck up. I'm sorry. I can't lower it.
And you're frozen. And you're frozen.
At least your hand's the only
I
thing
finally
stuck
got, I
up.
got it. I got
All
it
right.
down.
Okay. Any other commissioners' correspondence? Seeing none. Director of Development Services report. None.
Nothing more, no.
Okay. Administrative approval report.
So we have quite the list again this week. We have 10 Lego Way. There was an approval to allow them to install dumpsters on their site. They had been approved previously by the commission on a site plan review to have new uses in that building. I guess their original approval didn't have dumpsters associated just with what's inside the building or the operations inside the building. The dumpsters are outside, but they are. That was one administrative approval. Another was for a barber shop to be located at 740 Enfield Street, where there had previously already been a hair salon. 94 Biddle Road was a zoning permit to, this is what was just discussed tonight. Zoning permit was received for the temporary lights at the ball fields at Eli Whitney School. With your guidance, we'll just have Rick take care of that zoning permit. And then at 54 Hazard Avenue, we actually have 2 new tenant spaces that are being filled, one by a retailer called Game Exchange. And I believe they already have their sign up and they might already even be open. They move pretty quickly. And
what is Game Exchange? What is that?
It looks pretty similar to, I was there actually the other day in that shopping center. It looks pretty similar to GameStop. Okay. And I think they buy and sell electronic devices from people as well.
Good.
And there's also a proposed smoke shop for that shopping center. And then at 786 Enfield Street, that's the shopping plaza near Town Hall, the one with Subway. There is a proposed retail meat market for one of the units over there. And that's it for admin approvals.
Thank you, Jen. Applications to be received.
So we have 2 listed on the agenda, one being the site plan component for the redevelopment of the Blair Manor facility. And then the second is a proposed text amendment application. It's probably about 2 months ago now, Rick had asked the commission if you'd be open to seeing this text amendment to allow bedrooms in the basements as long as it meets the requirements of the building code. And so we moved that forward to the Capital Region Council of Governments. They didn't have any concerns, so that'll be on for the next agenda. And there's also a third application that we received for 89 Enfield Street. That's the former Commonwealth restaurant. And they want to request that a condition of approval on the original approval for the restaurant be removed. So yeah,
Okay.
That's what we have so far.
On the bedrooms in the basement, if somebody meets the codes, could you do an in-law?
So in-law apartments they always require a special permit.
Yep.
And there are very specific criteria outlined in that section of the regulations. I'm not, I'd have to, honestly, off the top of my head, I'm not sure if in-law apartments would be allowed in the basement based on this. That's something that I can certainly look into.
Yeah,
and
if you
include in the
could.
staff report.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Jen. All right, opportunities and unresolved issues, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Alamo. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
You.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Thank you.
Okay, night.
Aye.